Hi, and welcome to episode 40 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy, and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live on a farm with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, October 5th, 2018. This is a podcast all about my life as a knitter, a crocheter, a hand dyer of yarn, and a sewist. Thank you so much for joining me today. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. You can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts. You can find me on Ravelry at Noble Character. And I also have a group for this podcast in Ravelry under Noble Character Crafts podcast. In that group, you will be able to find the show notes for this episode as well as previous episodes and several other chatter threads. You can also get in contact with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. I am currently hosting a knit-along with the ladies of the Meanwhile at the Castle podcast for the Be My Neighbor Cal, and that is for any cardigan that you would like to make, either knitted or crocheted, in honor of Mr. Rogers, who often wore cardigans that his mother knitted for him. And it is also including any projects that you would like to make that are for gift or charity. So please join us over at the Ravelry group. There is a chatter thread and a finished objects thread, and there are also threads at the Meanwhile at the Castle Ravelry group as well. So please join us for that knit along. I would love to see what you're making and have you join us. I will be drawing prizes once a month. So at the first episode that I record of each month, I will be announcing another prize winner for that knit along. So I went ahead and drew another prize winner for the knit along before I sat down to record this podcast. And the winner that I have chosen for this month is Michelle, who is VINGIRL on Ravelry. Congratulations, Michelle. I had a very generous donation from Amy Lindland of Amy's Little Kingdom on Instagram, and she also has a podcast. And she recently released another beautiful pattern called the Lily Shawl, and she generously donated a copy of that to me as well as to the podcast as a giveaway. So Michelle, you will be winning a copy of this beautiful pattern. Thank you so much, Amy, for donating the pattern. It is absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait to make mine. And Michelle, you will also be winning a set of stitch markers / progress keepers that I put together for you. I have a few autumnal themed charms here. I have a leaf and a pine cone. And then I've also included one of my lava bead stitch markers. So these have the earring clasp on them. So they are easy to be used as either a progress keeper or a stitch marker. They can fit on needles, or you can just mark your progress on your projects, of course. So congratulations, Michelle. I'm pretty sure that I have your address. I believe that you have won a prize before, but if I'll double check and get in contact with you, and if I don't have it, I'll certainly ask for your address again. So again, congratulations. Continue to enter your finished objects in the finished objects thread, and again, I will be choosing another winner the first time that I record a podcast in November. So I was also hosting a Advent calendar mini skein swap that I had opened up to all of you, anyone who wanted to join, to swap a mini Advent calendar. And so many of you joined in. I'm so excited about that. I did just send Ravelry messages to everybody who wanted to participate yesterday, letting them know who their different partners are. Each person that's participating is sending an Advent calendar to one person and then receiving a calendar from a different person. So if you did not receive that information, go check your Ravelry inbox, and please let me know if you have any questions if you did sign up to be a part of that Advent calendar mini swap. I'm so excited to participate myself, and I hope that everybody that does participate enjoys it and has a lot of fun putting their packages together and receiving their packages, of course, as well. So since I recorded last time, it's been 4 weeks exactly since I recorded last, and I have been through quite a trial since I recorded last. So I last recorded on my birthday, which was September 7th, and then on September 13th well, leading up to September 13th, I was feeling pretty ill, and I ended up having to have an emergency appendectomy on the 13th. So that was, you know, obviously a surprise, and quite, you know, it was painful, of course. And then I ended up getting an infection in one of my incisions, so that just lengthened the healing process. So I was pretty well bedridden for a little over 2 weeks. I've been to the emergency room 3 times. I've been hooked up to an IV 3 times. I've had 3 CAT scans, 3 sets of x-rays. Oh, it's been horrible. I've been in the most pain that I have ever been in my entire life. But I am so incredibly grateful to say that I am feeling better finally. I've been feeling quite a bit better since I started feeling better over the weekend, last weekend. So anyway, it's been wonderful to be back on my feet and to be able to get around. And I just have really, it has been a really hard time, but there has been so many blessings that have come through this trial as well. I have received so many prayers from so many of you for my recovery, and I just cannot express to you how much that means to me. That is the most meaningful and thoughtful and worthwhile thing that I can receive from you all, is your prayers for my well-being and my health. And I just am so grateful for you all lifting me up in prayer. And I also received so much support from my local church family. We received help from at least 15 different families from our church, whether it be bringing us a meal at supper time. One of the ladies took our boys to their educational services that they receive. We had one lady bring her children over one day and just watch all of our kids together so that I could rest, because I just could not move around very well at all for quite a while. My mother-in-law has helped us out tremendously. We have just received so much support, and I am just so grateful for all of the support that we've received, and it really did help me to be able to get well as fast as possible because I was able to rest. So that has been such a huge blessing to us. So, but again, I am so grateful to finally be feeling well again. So anyway, since I have been resting so much lately, I have had the opportunity to knit quite a bit while I was resting, because really the only way that I could get comfortable for the majority of my recovery period was to lay in bed with a heating pad or an ice pack on my stomach and just trying to stay as still as possible. If I could stay still, I was pretty comfortable, but as soon as I had to move around, I was in major pain. I was pretty much bent over every time I tried to get up. It was horrible, but anyway. So anyway, I have 17 finished objects to share with you today. I've been quite busy, but a lot of those finished objects are pretty small, and so anyway, I hope it won't take me too terribly long to go through all of them, but I would like to just go ahead and get started with the first thing that I finished. Last time I recorded, I showed you that I had just cast on this project. This is the Gable cap, which is a new pattern by Tabitha Gandee, who is Tabby of the Hey Sister podcast and Hey Sister Yarn Co. And I absolutely love the pattern of this hat. I was a test knitter for her, and so I really love how this hat turned out. It's a beautiful pattern. So last time I recorded, I had just cast on with a tubular cast on, and I had used US size 3 to 3.25 millimeter needles for the cast on, and then I changed to a US 4 for the 2x2 ribbing. With the US 4 is a 3.5 millimeter needle. And then for the body of the hat, I used a US 6 4 millimeter needle. The gauge for this hat is 5.5 stitches to 1 inch. And it is made using DK weight yarn. I used my own hand-dyed yarn, Noble Character Crafts yarn, on my Josephine base, which is my DK weight base. It is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And this is in my iron colorway. So I'll go ahead and put it on. So you can see it's nice, and it's a nice fit. It's got a little bit of room on my head anyway. I don't think my head is too terribly large for an average woman. It's maybe kind of a little bit, I don't know. I think it's kind of average, maybe a little bit smaller to average sized. Anyway, this is actually going to be going to my very good friend Tina, who was over here earlier this week to share a meal with, actually 2 meals with my family, and to just visit. And I was thinking of her maybe liking this hat. She goes for lots of bike rides, and I thought, well, this would be really cool if she would like to have this hat, because I just think that it would look good on her, and she loves it. So she is going to be receiving this hat, and she's super excited about it, and so am I. That I'm so glad that she likes it, and will get a lot of use out of it. So it was a joy to make, and I'm so glad that it is going to Tina for a gift. So this is one of, actually I only have one finished object that does not apply to the Be My Neighbor Cal. Everything that I have made are gifts. So anyway, this is number 1. Super happy with it, and I highly recommend the pattern. It worked up so, really so quickly. I don't remember how many days it took me, but I think only less than a week for sure. So anyway, it has these beautiful bobble stitches, as well as the beautiful cables running down. And I believe there's 4 repeats across it. Yeah. So anyway, highly recommend this pattern if you would like to give it a try. Okay, my next finished object is what I'm wearing. This is the V-back tee by Jamie Hoffman, who is known as Natasophy on Instagram. And I have been working on this project for quite a while, as you have seen if you have watched my previous episodes. And I'm very happy with how it turned out in general. It's not perfect, but I'm really happy with it. So I'll insert a couple of photos of me standing so that you can get a better idea of what it looks like on. And as you can see, I was able to use a lot of different colors for this project. I used actually 11 different little bits and pieces of yarn. Most of them were mini skeins or remnants from previous projects that I have used. I did use 2 new skeins of yarn for this project, because I really wanted those colors in this tee. And so anyway, I will go through the different colors. So this top color is a one-of-a-kind yarn that I dyed myself, but it's not repeatable. The green that's striped here is an Emmy Couture yarn in the Spearmint colorway. Then it fades into a skein of yarn from Sheepwrecked, but I don't think I know the colorway of that one. And then I also faded into one of my own hand-dyed yarns again on my Spring Rain colorway, which is just a bit deeper of the light teal color. Then I had a small mini skein from a homespun house, which is right here. It was pretty light, the base was white, and then it had specks of bright blue and turquoise in it. And then I worked into one of my newer colorways, which is Fountains of the Deep, which is right in here. And then I worked into the Stream of Water colorway, also my own hand-dyed yarn. And then I had 2 different skeins of Deep Waters, one of them also my own hand-dyed yarn, one of them on my Radiant base, which has some silk content. So, and it was also the very first time that I ever dyed that particular colorway. This, this little remnant that I used up was actually the first time that I ever dyed Deep Waters. And since I first dyed it, I have made that colorway a bit darker. And so the last colorway here, which you can see I did on the ribbing, is what Deep Waters looks like now, but it also makes a difference because the base is different. So this is on my Radiant base, and this is on my Gentle base, which is 100% non-superwash. And anyway, it does dye differently according to the different bases, but also it's quite a bit darker now than it was when I first dyed that colorway. Anyway, As you can tell from the title, it is called the V back tee, so it is reversible. So let me just turn it around. Here we go. And I think I like it best this way anyway. So then you get the V back. Well, I can't really turn it around very easily. So anyway, you see from the pictures that I inserted that it looks nice with the V in the back as well. So anyway, I'm really happy with this. It is, autumn now, so I don't know how much use I will get out of it before it is too cold to wear, but I might be able to get a few wears out of it before it cools off too much. So I hope I can. For the gauge for this, the recommended gauge for the pattern is 22 stitches to 4 inches. When I was doing my gauge swatches, I was having a hard time getting gauge, and then I also decided that I just liked the fabric that I was getting with a tighter gauge. So I used a US size 7, well, I used a US size 5, 3.75 millimeter for the cast on, which is also a tubular cast on. But then once I got to the main body, I switched to a US size 7, 4.5 millimeter needle, and that gave me a gauge of 24 stitches to 4 inches, which I thought was a lot better. Since I had a tighter gauge, I went up one size to the large size, and I felt like I was going out on a limb doing that. I was afraid that it wasn't going to work out because I had never done that before, not gotten gauge on a garment and then just went up a size, so I was afraid that it wouldn't work out, but I'm really happy with the fit, and I think it worked out wonderfully, so I'm super happy with that. The original pattern calls for like 3 to 5 different colorways, so I use quite a few extra colors in mine, but I'm happy with how it fades in, how each color fades into one another, and yeah, I'm super pleased with this finished object, and I highly recommend this pattern as well. It was super fun to work up and to, there's lots of opportunity to play with different color combinations with this pattern, so, and I think I will definitely get a lot of wear out of it in the warmer months. So I think that's all I have for that project. So the next finished objects that I will be talking about is a large pile of the towels that if you've tuned in before, you will have seen before, but I've been working feverishly on making many of these at your service knit cloths, which is a free pattern by YARNSPIRATIONS. And I am planning to gift one of these towels to each of the different families who helped us out while I was sick. So that's why I have been making so many of these. I had originally started making these so that I could give them as Christmas presents, but then once we started receiving so much help from everybody, then I was like, well, I'd really like to, that's my response. When I need to thank somebody, I'm like, well, what can I make for them? What can I knit for them? What can I, crochet for them? Anyway, that's how I express my thanks and my gratitude is to knit them something. So anyway, last time I recorded a podcast, I believe I was working on this one. And so anyway, all of these are the same. I have a bit of a different gauge with this pattern as well. The recommended, I don't remember what the recommended gauge is, but I'm getting a gauge of 16 stitches to 4 inches. And I am using a smaller needle than what is recommended. I'm using a US size 6, 4.4 millimeter needle. And I'm also starting off with fewer stitches. The pattern has you cast on 49 stitches, and I only cast on 45 stitches to get a better size that meets what the pattern is intended to, the size that it's intended to be. Anyway, so I cast on 45 stitches. I work about 4 or 8 rows of a garter stitch, and then you just work into you leave the garter on each side, of course, so that it doesn't roll, and then on the middle, in the middle section of the body is seed stitch pattern. And then you decrease up here, and then just work a garter. This is all in garter stitch up here to make this flap, and you include a buttonhole. And it's, you can easily attach it to your stove or to a door handle or something like that in your kitchen. So I have made all of these using, well, there was one that I didn't use 100% cotton, but anyway, I'll quickly go through I think I have maybe like 10 of these here. So This one I made using Peaches and Cream yarn in the Seaside Stripes colorway. This is also Peaches and Cream in the Blueberry colorway. This next one is in Peaches and Cream in the Oasis colorway. And this top is from Pacolet Valley Fiber Company in the Something Red colorway. I can't read it on the tag, but something red. This one is in Peaches and Cream in the dark gray colorway and Sunshine. This is Peaches and Cream in the mint colorway and black. This is Lily Sugar and Cream in the Emerald Isle colorway and Peaches and Cream in bright blue. This is the one that's not 100% cotton. This is a Knit Picks Comfy Worsted yarn, which has some acrylic in it, but it's mainly cotton. And it's in the Ivory colorway. And the top is in Pacolet Valley Fiber Company in the Copper colorway. This is Knit Picks Dishy yarn in the Jelly Bean Multi colorway. And the top is in Peaches and Cream in the Orchid colorway. This one is in Knit Picks Dishy in the Sunshine Multi and Peaches and Cream in bright pink. And the last one I have to show you is in Knit Picks Dishy in the Cabin colorway and also Knit Picks Dishy in Coffee. So I have a good pile of those that I'm planning to take to church on Sunday and hand out to all of the different families that helped us out. So, and I have one more on the needles, and I'd like to be able to make 2 more before church. I'm hoping that I probably won't have a huge variety, but I was kind of hoping that people could pick which color would work best. I'm trying to make, a wide variety of neutrals and brights, and I'm hoping that I will have enough color variation to suit everyone's taste and maybe color scheme in their kitchen. So I'm hoping that I can take the pile and say, please choose one that you like, and hopefully everybody will be able to choose one that they like. So anyway, I'm hoping to make a few more before Sunday if possible. I'm able to make 1 a day, so maybe I could make, maybe I could finish up the one I have on my needles tonight and then make 1 more tomorrow, maybe. We'll see. Okay, another finished object that was easy and quick is this simple dishcloth. I had just a little bit left over of that Knit Picks Comfy Worsted that I used on the other towel. I used basically the same pattern as I did for the towels, except I cast on only 35 stitches, but then I used the same seed stitch pattern in the middle, and then of course just did some garter ridges all around the outside. And I was planning to give this to my mother-in-law along with a towel. I wanted to make a set of 3 dishcloths and give her a towel to thank her for all of her help that she has given us. But I wanted to make it like a matching set, and I couldn't, this ended up to be a little bit smaller than the other ones that I had made, and I just wanted it to be a matching set. So anyway, I made 3 more using the same exact pattern, but I used the Lily Sugar and Cream Emerald Isle colorway. I'll insert a picture here so that you can see the set of 3 cloths that I made for her. And I have already gifted those to her along with a towel that looks like this one, except that at the top I used a cream colored yarn that matches this here. So I already gave her that set with the towel and the 3 dishcloths as a thank you gift to her. Okay, so also while I was laying in bed, another lady from our church had a baby. And so I am on our church's prayer shawl ministry, which also includes gifting baby blankets to new mothers. And so they had sent out an email to those of us that are on that ministry group and asked if anybody had a baby girl blanket that they could gift. And I did have one available. So a lady came over and picked that up to take to the new mom while I was resting. healing. And she had asked if I would be able to make any other ones, or I don't really remember how that came about. I think maybe they were asking if anybody had a boy baby blanket in case somebody, there was another mother that was expecting, but we didn't know if it was going to be a girl or a boy. And so they were asking if anybody had a boy blanket to, you know, have available, or if anybody had any extra blankets available for this other new mom that was going to be having a baby. Anyway, I said, I don't have any other ones available, especially, well, I do have one that could be possibly for a girl, but I don't have anything that would work for a boy. But I said I'd be glad to make one because I have all this extra time where I am knitting and crocheting and doing whatever all the crafty things I can while I'm resting in bed, and I would be glad to make another one, but I just would need you to bring me some yarn because I didn't have any yarn handy that I thought would work well. I didn't want to make anything that was in 100% wool or anything like that, and I wanted to make one that was in worsted weight so that it would work up as quick as possible, you know. So anyway, I just asked if she could please bring me some yarn, and I would be glad to make some baby blankets. So she did. So I was able to make this baby blanket, and I think it turned out so beautifully. I think it's so pretty. This is also a free pattern. It is called the Sunny Spread, and it is by Helen Gormley. And the original pattern is for a large blanket. I don't remember how many squares it calls for, but I just did 4 squares across and 5 down. And I just absolutely love how this pattern turned out. It was so much fun to make. It is a crocheted pattern, as you can probably see, and it worked up so quickly. I made this in 2 days. Well, I started on, let's see, did I write it down? I don't remember. Well, I started like on the 20th of September and I was done by the 22nd or something like that. It was just like, 2 or 3 days, I guess, 3 total days of crocheting. But anyway, I am so happy with this. So these are worked, the squares are worked from the center out, and you use front post double crochet stitches to make this raised texture, which I love doing front post double crochet. If you haven't done them before, you should definitely give them a try. If you'd like to try something new, it adds a lot of texture to crochet patterns, and it's very easy. It's really not difficult, but it does add quite a bit to the texture of your pattern. And the original pattern calls for you to make each square and then sew them together, but I decided to join them as I went. So there are 7 rounds on each square, and on the 7th, I've made the first one completely, and then on the next one, when I was ready to do the 7th round, then I would use a slip stitch into the stitch that went right across from where I was working, and then that's how I attached it. So I just worked the 7th round crocheting as I went to join them, using a slip stitch into the stitch that is directly across from where I was working. I hope that makes sense. That's kind of hard to explain, but hopefully that makes sense. And there are lots and lots of tutorials on YouTube if you're not certain how to join as you go, if you're interested in trying that technique. And then I followed the pattern for the border, and it also has the front post double crochet texture added to it, which I love how that, ties it all together. I thought it was really pretty. So the yarn I used is Red Heart Super Saver in the baby pink colorway, very fitting for a baby girl, and it is 100% acrylic in worsted weight. And I used just over 2 skeins of yarn. This is I barely had to break into this one. Each skein is 7 ounces, 364 yards. So just to kind of give you an idea, I used the recommended hook size, which is a J 6mm. I'm pretty sure that was the recommended hook size. I didn't check my gauge because it doesn't really matter for a baby blanket. I was just going by size, and that's what determined how many squares I made to make the blanket. So anyway, I'm really happy with this size. I think it'll be a nice crib size. And actually, when the lady first had brought me yarn for making baby blankets. As I said, we were having one other lady in our church family that was getting ready to have a baby, but we didn't know if it was going to be a boy or a girl. And I started a different blanket, but then we found out that she had a girl, and so I quickly whipped this one up. I stopped that project, which I'll show you in a little bit, and started this one. And it worked up so quickly, so now I need to gift it to her before she watches, because I'm pretty sure she watches this podcast. So anyway, that was a very fun and quick project. I highly recommend that pattern, and I think I would not be surprised if I use that pattern again sometime. It'd be fun to use it in a scrappy blanket or something like that, with even fingering weight, and just, they'd be really mini little squares. They'd be so cute, but I love the texture of that pattern, so I highly recommend that. And then my last finished object is this shawl. So this is the Washed Out Shawl by LOCATELLI. And I am so happy to have this as a gift for a very special lady at our church as well. So let me just tell you the story. When the first time that I went to the ER with major pain in my abdomen, my husband was home with our 5 children, and my husband called a sweet lady that is part of our church, and she also is part of the small group that my husband and our family goes to. And she came over to the ER right away and sat with me and held my hand and dried my tears. I'm gonna get emotional. It was just so sweet of her, meaningful to have her there when I was scared and in a lot of pain. Anyway, so anyway, I need her here to dry my tears again. Anyway, she just stood by me the whole time. She prayed over me. She sang to me. She read scripture to me. And then she stayed with me during my surgery. She spent the entire night with me in the hospital. My husband was able to come. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law and niece all came to watch the kids so that my husband could come while I was in surgery. But then overnight, while I stayed in the hospital, my husband came home to be with the kids. And this sweet lady from church stayed with me the whole time in the hospital room and was there to help me, scoop ice chips into my mouth or whatever I needed. She was always there to help me, and it was such a comfort to have her there with me at the hospital. So I wanted to make her something special, and so when I was home and shortly after I got home, I cast this on to gift to her, and I've been working on it pretty consistently since. I just finished it last night. So let me take it off of here. I made it all in blues, as you can see. This lady has beautiful blue eyes, and she wears quite a bit of blue in her, I think in her wardrobe, she wears quite a bit of blue. So I thought this would be nice to have for her. It turned out extremely long. I mean, I think it's to pattern pretty much. It might be a little bit bigger than what the pattern recommends, but I did not realize it was going to be so large, and I hope that it's wearable for her. I was kind of hoping that she could wear it, just draped over her shoulders, but when I do that, and I'm probably taller than her, she's not much shorter than I am though. She's pretty tall as well. But anyway, it reaches almost to the floor. The 2 ends. They go on quite a bit. So I don't think it's very wearable this way, which is a little bit disappointing, but it is super pretty when it's all wrapped around. So I am pretty confident that I will be making one of these for myself, and I sure hope that this is pretty wearable for her. But you can really have fun with playing around with how you drape it around, and I hope that she will like it and get a lot of use out of it. See, it's so pretty. I love this lace section. That's what sold me on this pattern, was this lace section at the end. It's so gorgeous. So anyway, let me go through the different yarns I used. I used all Noble Character Crafts yarn, my hand-dyed yarn, except for one skein or one little ball that I had on hand that I had actually picked up at the thrift store a while back. And anyway, so let me go through the different colors. So I would say the main color I used is Noble Character Crafts on the Cold Water colorway. And this is on my Pitter Patter base, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. So you can see that repeated in quite a few areas, obviously in the lace as well, is the Cold Water colorway. This right here is the leftovers that I had from from several projects, but I had also used this Deep Waters colorway on my Radiant base in the V-back tee. And so I just used up every little bit that I had left from that tiny little ball. I had originally used this in my, what is that one called? Another pattern by JOJI Locatelli. It was a mystery knit along last year. What was that called? Well, I'll put it down below. I can't remember, but it was it was the first project that I had ever made using my hand-dyed yarn. And I had also used this colorway in that project. I can't believe I can't remember that. Well, anyway, this is my Discover colorway, also on my Radiant base, which is 70% superwash merino, 30% silk. So then we have some more of the Cold Water. And then here you can see this blue right here. And it's also right here in this section. This is the only yarn that I use that is not my hand-dyed yarn. It is a Kobasi yarn. I think I have the label, yes. Oh, and here's the little extra I have left of it. It is Kobasi, I think is how you pronounce it. And it is a mix of 55% cotton, 16% bamboo, 21% elastic nylon, and 8% silk. And it's in the Rafi tonal colorway. So, like I said, I had picked this up at our thrift store quite a while ago. And, okay, let's see what's next. Where was I? Okay, then I had striped in my the Discover colorway again there. Then this blue section is my Stream of Water colorway, also I had used in the V-back tee. And then this section, I was so excited to use my Swallow colorway, which is a newer colorway for me as well. Here it is in the cake. And I love how that knitted up. I also striped in that Kobasi colorway into this, but you can't see the stripes very easily because it really blended into the Swallow colorway, but I still like how that looks a lot. Let's see. Next we have a striped section of Stream of Water and Swallow together. I think that looks really cool. And then I did a section of Deep Waters on my Gentle base, which is 100% non-superwash. Also, I had used that in the V-back tee, as well as the Stream of Water. And then this last stripe section, oh, I should mention something else, that I did not follow the pattern for the color layout. You're really only supposed to use 3 different colorways for this project, and I used, well, 6, but I did use Deep Waters on 2 different bases like I did on my V-back tee, so I have this lighter section and this darker section. But I think there's 6 different colorways, so I have, again, my Discover, Cold Water, the Kobasi Rafi Tonal, Swallow, Stream of Water, and Deep Waters. The pattern calls for you start at this end, and I think it calls for you to use color 1 all the way down to this, even into this striped section. Of course, you bring in an extra color into the striped section, but I think you're supposed to be using color 1 for that whole section. And anyway, I'm not really sure how the color layout is supposed to go. I do know that I also changed the striping pattern. I followed the striping pattern for the first striped section, but then for, I think this one, and this one, those were all supposed to be matching, but even stripes. As you can see, this first section, the blue stripes are much thicker than the lighter stripes. And I followed that same striping pattern for the next 2 striped sections instead of making even stripes as the pattern calls for. And then I believe that these are supposed to be even stripes as well, but instead I just used all of the different colors that I had used in the project to try to use up as much as I could of the leftovers. I don't have any of this Discover colorway left. That is all used up, but I do have the other colors. Anyway, very, very happy with this. I hope that she can wear it and not be like, what am I supposed to do with this massive shawl, because it is really large. But I think it's beautiful, and like I said, I really want to make one for myself because I love how it looks when it's draped around. So I think it would be so cozy in the winter to wrap up in, or, you know, it's fingering weight. It's all fingering weight, so it would, you know, be not too warm if you wanted to wear it in the spring or fall as well. Anyway, I love it, and I hope she does too, and I hope that it shows a bit of my appreciation for all that she did for me while in the hospital, and I am just so grateful for her. And she also, her and her husband, well, her husband actually, she was overseas while I was in the emergency room another time, and her husband ended up coming and sitting with me and my husband in the emergency room another time, and then they also loaned us their van so that another lady from church could take my boys to their educational services. So anyway, they've just overwhelmed us with wonderful, caring things. So anyway, I hope that this, that she will enjoy this, and it will be, that she'll be able to wear it and use it. And then I'm also planning to make a gift for her husband as well. So I haven't started that yet, but I hope to start that soon. So anyway, I think I'll leave this on because I like it. So those are all of my finished objects. Quite a few. I've been busy. I've been resting a lot, but I've kept my hands busy, so that's been good. I think that, you know, what would people do if they didn't have knitting and they had to sit in their bed for 2+ weeks? I would have gone crazy. But knitting and crochet got me through. It was so nice to be able to have some, you know, something to distract me from the pain I was going through and the discomfort of, you know, because not only was my abdomen in pain, but then I got sore from just sitting on my, you know, sitting all the time. My back got sore, my bottom got sore, and I was just like, oh, I never thought it was going to end. You know, I got to the point where I was like, am I ever going to be able to get out of this bed? I would try to sit on our couch because I was just so tired of sitting in our bed, but I couldn't get as comfortable. So anyway, I'm so grateful for knitting and crochet that, you know, I can do that craft while resting. Such a blessing. Okay, so a couple of works in progress. As I mentioned, I had started making a baby, more of, I mean, this could be for a baby girl too, but more of a baby boy colors, you know, typical colors for a baby boy blanket. When the lady from church had first brought me yarn, I had started the Turning Points blanket, which is another free pattern by YARNSPIRATIONS. And for that, they are knitted mitered squares, I believe they are. Is that what that is? Well, it's a square. You start at one end and increase and then decrease. I am making my squares a little bit smaller than what the pattern calls for. I don't remember how many stitches that original pattern calls for you to work up to, but I'm only working up to 30 stitches before I start decreasing. Just because I liked, you know, I like the size of that better. For a baby blanket, it just will work a little bit better for, you know, doing like 4x5 across again, I think, probably. Or maybe 5x6. I don't know. We'll see how it lays out. But anyway, I'm not sure how many squares I'll be making in the end, but I am, so let's see, I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares so far, and I'm working on my 10th one. And the yarn I'm using is, the white is Mainstays Basic Yarn in white, probably, yes, 100% acrylic. Worsted weight again, and I'm also using Red Heart Super Saver Ombre in the Scuba colorway. And so it works out that the gradient of this ombre yarn is long enough that I can make one square in the lighter color and one square in the darker color, and then there's several in between. So the way that this turning points blanket is laid out in the pattern is more of a gradient as well. It shows, I think, dark brown or burgundy up to a lighter red, and that's how I'm planning to lay out these squares as well, to, you know, use the darkest ones at the bottom and then work my way up to a lighter color. So I think you lay them out like this across. I've left these tails on here that I can use those tails to sew all the pieces together once I'm done, but that's kind of the pattern that it follows in the pattern, the layout that it follows. So anyway, I think that will look really fun when it's all put together, but I haven't worked on this in quite a while now. But I will definitely work on that again so that I can have it ready for the next baby that's born and needs a baby blanket. I am using the recommended needle size, which is US size 8, 5mm. All of my needles are CHOW pretty much. I am using a wooden needle set for the cotton towels that I'm making, but otherwise I always use CHOW needles. And this is just marking the right side because you have to keep track of which side is the right side on this pattern. So I just put a marker on the right side. This is from AIMÉE of Little Tailoress. 2 little pearls, so cute. Yeah, so I'm excited to see how this works up when it's all done. I think it'll be really neat. I think visually it will look really neat for a baby blanket. So anyway, I'll hopefully be able to keep working on that and not let that languish, since I don't really have anybody in mind for it specifically. I think it's more motivating to make a project if you know who it's going to, but hopefully I'll get that done pretty soon as well. And then the only other work in progress that I have is another at your service knit cloth. It's in this Me Made project bag that I made using the, what is it called? Easy Drawstring Tutorial by Erica Arndt on YouTube. And you guys are very familiar with this pattern now after all the talk that I have had about this pattern, but I am using Knit Pick Stitchy in the Pebble Multi colorway. And then for the top section, I will be using Peaches and Cream in the dark gray colorway. So I was looking at all of the towels that I had already made, and I thought maybe I could use a few more neutrals. I think it's fun to work up all the bright colors, but obviously that might not work into people's color schemes in their homes and their kitchens as easily as these neutral colors will. So I'm trying to work up a few more neutral colors. These are Knitter's Pride wooden needles, US size 6, 4mm. And I don't think I need to go over that much more since I've talked about that pattern already. So yeah, so that is it for works in progress. I do have a few new things that I would like to share with you all. I was so fortunate to have won a prize from Jules of So Sweet Violet. She had a knit along for her Sweet Bee sock pattern, and I had joined in on that. I was able to win this beautiful bag. I think it's so adorable. It is made by Caroline Watts Embroidery, and she can be found on Instagram at CWEMBROIDERY. Here's her card. And look at that beautiful bee that she embroidered on there. And then here, there's 2 little pockets in the front. And this beautiful print. And also on the inside it has, you can barely see it, but it's got some script on the inside lining, which is beautiful. And it's so tiny. Can you see, like, compared to my other one? It's just so cute and tiny. It's so adorable. I love it. And then Jules also included 5 beautiful mini skeins from Holland Handmade Co. And that is, Holland Handmade is on, she has a YouTube podcast and also on Instagram as MAMATOABIGAIL. Here's her card. And here are the 5 mini skeins. I don't have the colorway names, but they are gorgeous. So there's this pretty blue with a little bit of purple in there. This brown tonal. This one has a lot of different rainbow colors in it. That's beautiful. This one has peaches and yellows, oranges. And this green one. So pretty. And I don't know the wool content on these either, but they feel maybe like BFL or I don't know. They feel more rustic than merino anyway. I love them. They might be good for like color work even. Maybe, I don't know. So cute. But I don't, my guess would be that there is not nylon in these, but maybe I could contact, where'd her card go? Maybe I could contact her, Erin, and see if she can tell me what the fiber content is on these. They're so beautiful though, and I'm so grateful, and it was so nice to be able to win these, especially because it came right after I had had my surgery. So that was such a pleasant surprise. I mean, her podcast announced that I won right after I had my surgery, and then this package came while I was still resting and healing, so it just came at the perfect time to cheer me up a little bit. So I was so grateful for that prize. So thank you, Erin and Caroline, for donating these, and thank you so much, Jules, for this beautiful package that you sent my way. I really love it so much. And then I did get a few new things for my birthday since I last podcasted, so I wanted to share those with you. I got this beautiful enamel pin from Twill and Print, and it says just one more, and then it has this counter so you can use it as a row counter. Let's see, you can turn this dial to keep track of what row you're on. And then it also has these 2 really nice pins to secure it to your project bag. And it comes in 3 different colors, gold, silver, or this is the black colorway. It's kind of hard to see with all the glare, but it's, you know, it's super shiny and beautiful, and I love the flowers down here, and it's really, seems to be really well made. So excited to stick this on one of my project bags, and I think it'll be so handy if I am working on a project where I need to keep track of my rows, just to have it on the project bag, because usually if I use a row counter, I put it in my bag, and so then I kind of have to dig around for it. I think this will be really handy to have on my project bag. You can see her, I think that's hard to see, but here's her business card. She has tons of beautiful enamel pins if you are in the market for any. And then I also am so excited to have this new book by Nora Gahn, who is one of my favorite knit designers. And she recently came out, well, Vogue Knitting published this new book of hers, which is a collection of 40 of her designs over the last 30 years, I think. I don't know if it says how old the oldest one is in here, but it's definitely from the 80s, and then there's some that are more recent. The oldest one is from 1987, and it's actually one of 15 through 17. This might be the oldest one. This is the zigzag turtleneck, but they're called timeless knits, and I agree that doesn't seem dated necessarily. I don't think. There are some patterns in here that I will not make, but you know, with 40 patterns, there's sure to be some that you like. And I had looked through the different patterns that were in this book before choosing to get this book. It's from my mom for my birthday. She just gave me money and said I could spend it how I wanted. So anyway, I'll share with you a few of my favorites. This is the bark pullover. And the texture on that is made to represent the bark on a tree, and I think that's super gorgeous. You could definitely, you know, make it shorter if you didn't want such a long one, but you could also, you know, keep it long or make it even a little bit longer to wear over leggings or something like that. That's really pretty. Then I think this one's kind of cool. I don't know if I'll make it or not, but oh yeah, there's two pictures. I just think it's really neat. I love how it's styled on this model. This is called the Braided Cables Vest. That's pretty. I bet it'd work up really quickly too. It's made using bulky or chunky. It's size 5 yarn. What is that? One up from worsted. Worsted is 4, so I think chunky is 5 maybe. Chunky or bulky, something like that. Let's see if I can show you the back of it without giving away the pattern. Here you can kind of see. The back of it is cool too. Okay, I think this one might be my favorite. This is called the Crisscross Cables Pullover. I love that. It would be pretty for Christmas or anytime because it has the shorter sleeves too, so you know, it could. If you made it in that ruby color though, it would be very pretty for Christmas. I love that one. And it was made using tweed yarn, which is really pretty. Oh, this is just a real classic. This is called the Guernsey pullover. Here's the texture on the front. I think it's so beautiful. And then here's a smaller picture on the side, but I don't want to avoid the pattern, so I'm trying to do it like this. There, you can kind of see the full length of it. It's really pretty and classic. And then, oh, this one is gorgeous. This is a newer pattern. It came out last summer, spring, summer 2017. It's the cabled cardigan. And here it is. That's gorgeous. That looks like Noragon, doesn't it? When I see that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Noragon. Looks like her style of designing. Oh, and the back is beautiful too. Here's the back of it. Very pretty. And the last one I want to show you is the, oh, maybe this one's my favorite. This is actually the pattern that I saw first for this book, and I was like, oh my goodness, I want that pattern. I want to make that pattern. And it was only available through this book, I believe. And it's called the Persian Yoke Pullover. Oh, I love that so much. I would make that probably in those exact same colors. I love those colors. They're so pretty together. I really like that a lot. It's made using sport weight, I believe. Yeah. Or DK. DK, I guess. Oh, I really like it. I like it a lot. Anyway, so I'm super happy about this book. There, like I said, 40 different patterns, so there's tons of other patterns, and a lot of them that are beautiful. I just showed you 6 of my favorites. So anyway, I'm very happy to have that book, and there's another one on the back. That's pretty too. That's a newer pattern as well. And the one on the front is really cool, but I don't know if it's very wearable, but it is very cool. It's like a shrug, real short, but very pretty, but I probably wouldn't ever wear that one as much, but anyway. I do have one other birthday present that is not to me yet. I ordered a skein of the birthday club yarn from a homespun house, so I haven't received that yet, but hopefully by the next time I record a podcast, I will have that to share with you all as well. So it was nice to receive a few birthday goodies recently as well. So the last thing I have to share with you is my shawl set. So each time I record a podcast, I try to share a set of 3 hanks of yarn from my Etsy shop that I think would work well together in a shawl or any kind of a pattern that requires 3 skeins of yarn. And here is my pick for this week. Trying to go with the autumnal theme still. So this bright color here is called Bold as a Lion, just a bright orange. It's blowing out a little bit. It's not quite that orange. It's deeper in color. But it blows out a little bit with the glare of the light. This is my Straight Paths colorway. I love the undertone, or the base color of this is just this nice tan, brown, light brown color, and then it has lots of speckles of lighter brown, darker brown, even some charcoal gray in there. I love this one. I haven't used this in a project yet, but I really want to. And then I've shared this one a lot. This is my Honor colorway. I feel that it's almost like a neutral. It's just one of my favorite standard colors. It's just this deep plum, solid tonal color. And I just thought those 3 looked nice together. So that just gives you an idea of the different colorways, a few of the different colorways that I have in my Etsy shop. I have had my Etsy shop closed while I was healing for a while, but I did just reopen it. So I do now have all of my colorways available on all 9 of my bases. So you can certainly go check out my Etsy shop at noblecharactercrafts.etsy.com if you would be interested to see the different colorways that I have. But like I said, I just like to share a few different combinations each time I podcast, just to give you an idea of my different colorways and what works well together. So I've already shared quite a bit of what's been going on in my life ever since I podcasted last, but other than that, you know, we've come into fall and the weather has cooled off considerably. My husband is getting ready to start harvesting. He is a farmer and has beans and corn, and he hasn't started picking yet because we have had tons of rain lately, and so the fields are too muddy. So we are just hoping and praying that it will dry off a bit so that he can get his crops out of the field before winter comes. And let's see, what else have we been doing? We've just finally gotten back into schoolwork this week after having quite a break while I was ill. But that's okay. I do schoolwork year-round with our kids. I homeschool them, and so that gives me a little bit of flexibility if I do have a problem like I have had where I need to be off for a lengthier time span. So anyway, I'm back into homeschooling again this week, which has gone well. Other than that, I don't know. I can't think of anything else. My life has been pretty boring since I podcasted last. I mean, there has been some exciting things with my surgery and everything, but, you know, otherwise, like I said, I've just been resting a lot. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you all enjoyed this podcast. I am so glad to be back at it. I really missed podcasting while I was ill, and I'm so glad to be back at it. If you enjoyed this podcast, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. I would appreciate that so much. And subscribe to this channel if you would like as well. I would appreciate that as well. I hope you all have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye.